Do you often feel pressure to do more, to keep up with the non-HSPs in your life? This is a common struggle for sensitive people. So in this video, we're going to explore how you can be more comfortable with doing less and getting your needs met more often. How do you not feel influenced by the non-HSPs in your life to do more, to rush from one thing to the next, to cram more in? This is a common struggle for HSPs and one I have definitely dealt with myself. It's gotten a lot easier as I learn more about what it means to be a highly sensitive person and what our specific needs are, but I still struggle with this quite a bit. It makes sense because we're often told as sensitive people throughout our lives, different stages of our lives, that we're not good enough, we're not doing enough, or we're too much, we need to be less emotional, less slow, be more fast, make decisions quicker, be more social, be less impacted. There's lots of that messaging that comes in that says, be different, be like everybody else. And we forget that there's value that we bring in our sensitivity. The value of noticing little details, of being really empathetic, of taking really good care of people in our lives. But we can only do those things. We can only bring our creativity, our intuition, our empathy, our perception when we can take care of our needs, when we can actually have balance. And this is, like I said, this is one that I struggle with a lot. I'm always having to stop myself from comparing. Am I doing enough? Am I enough? Other people are doing all these other things. I feel the pressure to do that too. So I really have to work to slow myself down, to turn my attention back inward, to remember that my needs are different and that's okay. Because when I push too hard, when I do too much, when I overcommit, I feel it. First, I'll feel irritable, or I'll get a headache, something physical will happen, or my mood will shift. And then I often know because my skin will flare up. I've been a lifelong eczema sufferer, and there's a direct connection to stress. So when my nervous system isn't happy, my skin isn't happy, and I can also start to feel really anxious when I'm doing too much. So there's lots of signs that show up, and I wonder what those signs are for you. Everyone has their own tells when you know you've crossed over the line and you're into overwhelm, you've overcommitted. But I understand the pressure because like I said, we want to feel good enough. We want to soften those messages. We're tired of hearing those messages that say, be different. But the way to do that isn't to be like everyone else. It's more we have to look inward and meet our own needs. So the first piece that's really important, and you'll hear this from lots of different people, is learning about the trait, learning about what it means to be a highly sensitive person, how your nervous system works, how your brain is different. Our brains are wired to pause, to think deeply, to notice. Our nervous systems are really attuned to our environments, not in a hypervigilant way, just in an awareness way, a calm awareness, taking everything in, noticing the little details. There's value in that, right? We need those people in our personal lives, in our families, and at work, in our communities that notice the details, remember the little things. It keeps us all safe. It keeps us all emotionally nurtured. The sensitive people have a lot of value. But learning those things about yourself. So when other people are saying, well, why aren't you doing it this way? Or why aren't you going out more? Or why aren't you working later? Or why aren't you being more ambitious? Or whatever it is. Not that we're not ambitious as sensitive people, just in a different way. We can come back to ourselves and realize and remember, it's because I'm wired different. It's because I have different needs. It's okay to go at a different pace. It's really important to remember that. And unless we know that the trait is real and we really believe the trait is real, it's easy to get swayed. I always have to come back to myself. Remember, this is what's available when I take care of myself. This is why it's important to take care of myself in this way. And part of that learning could be reading books, could be spending time on social media accounts by HSPs. It could be being in community with HSPs if that's available. And then, just tracking your own experience. What do I notice that I personally need? Um, and then creating some space for the disappointment of doing less, the grief of being different or needing to adjust what you hoped would be possible for you. This can be really evocative, emotional work to do, accepting that your needs are different, you're wired differently, and that's not changing. That can be really hard to hear. It can be a celebration of discovering yourself, but it also can bring up a lot of difficult feelings, especially if you had an idea for yourself of living this fast-paced life or doing something that's not HSP friendly. It could be even harder if you have expectations from family or community or your current work environment. There's lots of different ways that pressure comes in. So just creating some space that, okay, I'm going to grieve what I'm closing the door on, but then also recognizing what's available on the other side of that door closing. Recognizing the beauty of being highly sensitive, the benefits of living a life that's aligned with your traits. So I talked earlier about creativity, empathy, intuition, perception. HSPs were really amazing problem solvers, were emotional leaders, were really intuitive caretakers. We bring a lot to the table. And recognizing what becomes available when you start to live in alignment with your trait, when you start to step away from the pressure to be like everyone else. And everyone will notice, not everyone, but a lot of people will notice that maybe you're showing up differently. You're not showing up as much, but you're more present when you do. You're more available when you do, right? You're more creative and you're more clear-headed. You're less irritable or anxious. There's a lot of things that will start to shift when you go at your own pace. So asking yourself, what's available when I step out of that pressure? What's available when I stop rushing so much or I create a little bit of space between the things that I'm doing? What's available when I give myself a day, a week to do nothing? To putter around the house, to stay in my PJs, lay on the couch, read a book, tinker around in the garden, go on a walk with my dog, head out to the woods or the ocean, whatever you love doing, playing video games, cooking, crafting, it could be anything. Just spending more time with what's valuable to you. And then, again, turning that gaze back inward, right? It's hard to do, but slowly stopping or at least reducing the comparison. Being honest with yourself about the quality of life, your energy levels, your mental health, your ability to connect. How do those things shift when you slow down? And then how are they impacted when you rush and you do more than you're capable of? So these are just some questions to sit with and ask yourself, what do you need and what becomes available when you meet those needs? Feel free to share your own experiences on managing the pressure to do more as an HSP in the comments down below. You can also check out the description for more HSP resources, including my free sensitive self-care workshop. As always, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.